It's hard to find yourself promoted above your peers. I can remember when I was the dance captain at the Lion King a long time ago. My job was to ensure that when someone joined the show, they could learn the choreography and go safely into the production. Therefore, I had to know everybody's part. Everybody. Singers, dancers, actors, principals, all the people in the production. Where they changed the costumes, where the makeup changes, where all things they did, I had to make sure they knew how to navigate themselves so no one would get hurt. No one knows their track like the original cast. Those people helped build those parts, and they deserve mucho kudos for helping create one of the greatest shows in Broadway history. We were rehearsing a very complicated number, and everyone had a slightly different version of what they were doing. It all looked the same, but when you got close, you could see a little hand there, little wrist there, little quarter turn there. I wanted to choose all one version. And it was the beginning of my leadership in this kind of a space. And I said something like, we need to have order. I need order. This is kind of messy looking. And they were very, very insulted. I felt terrible. I was just in a moment and I just chose the wrong word. They were obviously brilliant, talented artists. And I think because I was their peer, even though I was technically their supervisor, I learned the show with them. There was comfortability there with me that they might not have with someone from the outside. And so people walked away. They felt very disrespected. They let me know and they walked away. I had lost control of the theater, but I learned that in leadership, you're not in control. Leadership is about guiding people towards a common goal. I was learning this. And so what I did was I had to unveil myself and humble myself and become very vulnerable and apologize to people. I think I invited the company to come and say, if anyone has an issue, to come talk about it. Let's come and have it out and talk to each other. And I listened. And it was hard, the things that they were saying to me. It was things that they didn't like how I was doing things and the way I was saying things and the methodology. And I was actually doing what I thought should be happening. And there was nothing wrong with what I was doing. It just wasn't landing in the right way. So I apologized. Apologizing isn't difficult for me. But when you're feeling under attack and you feel like the victim, and I felt like a bit of the victim, it's hard to apologize to people that you feel are coming after you. But by doing so, by becoming vulnerable and just sharing, I'm trying to do the best I can. I respect the work that you're doing. Of course, I love and adore you. We've been through the fire together, and I did. That was true. That was not a lie. I just have to find a way to speak with you so that we're on the same page, we're in alignment, and we're equal. We just have different responsibilities. As the meetings finished, I fell to the floor, total collapse. I totally felt defeated, failed, and I wanted to just go home. The stage manager said, no, Aubrey, you have to go on stage. You have to go on. This is what leadership is. You can do this. And she talked me into it. That was hard. That was very hard. And the next day, it was as if nothing happened. Everyone's happy as can be, like rainbows, gumdrops, and bluebirds. Because I was vulnerable. And I showed my authentic self. I had no ego involved. I was in a space of learning and hearing and listening and trying to learn from my behavior. And I was angry inside. I was hurt inside. I was felt defeated inside. And I rose above that and chose vulnerability. I learned about leadership that night, and it gave me the wisdom I needed to move forward in the organization. And I was working for Disney for 11 years after that, building Lion King companies all over the world in a very authentic and vulnerable state. And anyone that worked with me knows exactly what that meant. I learned that on Broadway with the original cast, and I'm grateful to them for that very difficult and challenging lesson. And anyone that has been promoted from being a peer to supervisor, you're gonna have to humble yourself and be vulnerable. They don't care how you feel. No one cares how the leader feels. What they care about is how you make them feel. And at the end of the day, that's our job as leaders, to make sure the people that we're working with are being guided and held in a safe space for them to do what they do. Letting go of people and situations that don't serve our well-being can help us tap into the power of vulnerability. See episode 5 for more on developing skills to separate yourself from negative feelings and thoughts that hold you back. Vulnerability can be scary, but it's also a powerful way to leverage and improve our overall well-being if we use the right lens. I call them lions. Life challenges, unchanging circumstances. It's more than a metaphor, it's a way of life. So what does it mean to be vulnerable? Vulnerability happens when we experience uncomfortable feelings and uncertainty. Expressing your feelings in spaces where you feel small. Standing up to a parent who criticizes you. Respectfully. Telling your boss no for the sake of your health and mental well-being. Sharing your emotions with someone you aren't sure feels the same way. Being honest about what you need or putting your foot down to protect your boundaries. Reconnecting with people whom you share intense emotions with. Vulnerability is all around us all the time and we can't escape it, but we can learn to deal with it in a way that is healthy and effective. Choosing to focus on your emotions rather than the problem or potential threat is proven to boost resilience and emotional intelligence. Check out the link below in the description for more on vulnerability. Sometimes I feel I would be much more successful if I didn't care about people. I really care, and I don't have the disease to please where I want people to like me, but I do find it easier to be kind rather than be some other harder version of myself. When I look at people like Elon Musk or some of our crazy leaders at the moment, they don't care. They don't care how they make people feel. They don't care how people react. They don't care what happens. They just want to do what they do. And sometimes they're right. A lot of times they're wrong, and a lot of people are impacted by their decisions. When I look at some of my past experiences in leadership, I could have been hard. I could have been, it's this way and that's how it's gonna go. I've had supervisors and people that I work with that are just mean, and they don't care how that make you feel. They just want you to get done what they need done. They rise because they don't care. Quite often they're talented and driven and they just do stuff and they don't care the wake they leave behind them. I care about the wake. I care about people. I care how they feel after they work with me. I want them to feel like they belong, and you can get a sense of my authentic self. This is who I am. I'm not acting right now. This is Aubrey. This is me. And when I lead like this. Sometimes I feel like I would be much further along if I had just been mean. If I wasn't so vulnerable. On the other hand, it's my vulnerability and my authenticity that I think has given me the incredible career that I have, because people can be their authentic self with me. They can be who they really are. We can create collaboratively together because of the vulnerability and my willingness to be my authentic self. But sometimes I wonder if there's a price for this. The good news is by being vulnerable and by being your authentic self, you are in your purpose. You are in your space. You are able to be who you are. You're not pretending. There's no air. There's no extra. It's just you. And that is the best place to be, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. I marvel at those politicians that don't care. They just want what they want. I'm not sure they're happy. In fact, I'm sure they're not. I'm guessing they're scared all the time. Not a good place to be. Even with all the power and money and influence they have, they're scared all the time. I am happy that I have been unafraid to be my vulnerable self. And I hope you feel that in these videos. And I hope these videos give you permission to find and be your authentic self, your vulnerable self. According to Psych Central, vulnerability can also be defined as a willingness to take risk, to show emotions and provide honest expression despite fears. I love that definition. Read more about the good kind of vulnerability below. The good side of vulnerability. Did you know that people who are open and willing to be vulnerable or in vulnerable spaces are likely to experience high levels of confidence and decreased self-doubt? Yeah, I experienced that. Somehow, by being vulnerable, I'm feeding my confidence. I'm willing to open my heart and say, here's who I am. Here's who I am. And that gives me confidence to be who I am. Feels amazing. Amazing. But why is that? Vulnerability can do a lot for us if we embrace it. Vulnerability makes us emotionally charged, providing us with plenty of energy to make magic happen. Vulnerability presents opportunity for us to step out on courage and faith, proving to ourselves that we are worthy, capable, and impactful, boosting self-awareness, self-acceptance, and authenticity. Vulnerability can help us develop intimacy and strengthen relationships that are important to us. Vulnerability can help us become more self-accepting and increase authenticity. We communicate better, we engage ourselves and others with empathy and compassion, we grow strong. I thrive where I can be vulnerable. I had a conflict at one of my jobs many, many years ago, and there was people there that I had conflict with. I'm not quite sure why we didn't vibe. I was doing what I thought I should do. They were doing what they thought they should do, and they were brilliant. I remember this person in particular, brilliant person. I really admired them. I think because they were very linear and they had to have order and a plan, and I was very in the moment and very creative in the space. I could come in without a plan and create something on the spot. That really unnerved them, and we had to work together. So at one point, there was some kind of incident. I had it, and admittedly, I broke my professional ceiling and raised my voice. It wasn't like a street kind of thing, but it was definitely a little bit beyond what's professional. I wanted to stop that craziness. And by the way, this person deserved it. This person was out of line. They weren't being unprofessional, but they were making very clear that there was no respect coming this direction. And I was not having it. I regret it, but it's what I said, it's what I believed. Just being real. I was really crying out to connect. I just wanted to connect. I wanted to say, we're in this together. We shouldn't have this friction back and forth. We should be building this together. The real fight's out there, not in here with us. Didn't go so well. And the moment I did it, I really felt bad. I was having a very, very bad day. I was having some drama in my life, and I brought that drama to work, and that moment was all that took. I owned it. I was very vulnerable about how I felt. The person was very, very upset. So we had a meeting with a mediator, and I apologized and told the person how much I respected them, how much I think that I reacted the way that I did because of my respect for them, and I wanted to be seen by them. I wanted to feel like we could collaborate together. I wanted to learn from them, and I poured out my guts. It was authentic, it was honest, and it was vulnerable. They accepted the apology kind of in a very professional way. It was very clear that they were just being professional, but I knew that I was not forgiven, and we were never really close again. Not that we were close friends, I mean, we were not able to really work together because the person chose not to. They declined my vulnerability. It was worth it to me. I was at peace. I knew that I had done something that I was not proud of. I owned it and I apologized. And I've learned since, I have never done that again since, by the way. I have really learned. That was a lesson I learned in leadership. So they taught me something. And I think I may have said that in the meeting, that I learned something that day with that incident that follows me to this day. I don't need respect from someone for me to respect their work. The work is the work. I talk about letting go in episode 5. This person was unable to let go. They never let it go. I remember leaving that position and thinking, they never let it go. What a waste, what a shame. They'll never know me. I wanted to know them. That was the line I walked with and I learned from. I gained something. It wasn't accepted. Vulnerability is not always going to land well. Sometimes it lands and things go south and pear-shaped, but you have to know this is where the confidence and the resilience that I speak about in my other videos comes from. If you're standing in yourself, in your greatest self, and you are understanding your why, you are authentically putting your work into the world, people can either accept it or not. That is not your responsibility. You cannot make someone feel something. You cannot make someone do something. You cannot make someone respect you. Some people choose not to respect you. You are not worthy of their respect, and that hurts. I have been there. People have chosen, looked me into my eyes, and have chosen to not respect me, no matter who I am, no matter what I bring. They do not see it. They're not going to see it. And that really feels uncomfortable. I still bring my authentic self. I am vulnerable, and I have risen and risen and risen throughout my life. Over and over again, it has proven true. From Alvin Ailey, through The Lion King, through the Harlem School of the Arts, through American Ballet Theater. I just go and go and go, and I am so confident about who I am right now. That's why I make these videos. It seems scary, and you will face pain. You will walk with some fierce, angry, nasty lions, and they will not devour you. If you stand in your why, if you stand in your purpose, if you prepare yourself and you train and you know that your talent, you know your skill set, you accept yourself, you don't judge yourself, you shine no matter who's across from you, no matter how they respond to what you're doing. This is what I've learned from being vulnerable in this world. And it's not safe out there to be vulnerable. It's not safe. And still, we have to have the strength and fortitude to be vulnerable because people are hungry for vulnerability. They're starving for authenticity. There is horror on the news, horror on our phones, horrors on social media. And it's easy to believe that's what the world is, but it's not. The world is full of love and optimism, inspiration and beauty. And that beauty is you. The light in you can be that for people. You've got to give that and shine that all the time. Protect yourself, draw your boundaries, teach people how to be with you, and be your beautiful, vulnerable, and authentic self. And the world and the universe will respond in kind. And when they don't, you still stand in your vulnerable, authentic light, and the universe sees you. As I stand before you on this video, know this. And that gazelle back there reminds me, yeah, it works. It works. Emotional regulation is key. Emotional regulation is an essential ingredient for working with vulnerability. We must first be aware of our internal wound to address it. This makes self-awareness a foundation of emotional regulation. There are several layers of emotional regulation. We can practice mindfulness, learning to be aware of our internal world without being deeply attached to our ever-changing perceptions. We can reframe our thoughts, there's that word again, reframing, and change our evaluation of people and events in our life. We can harness the power of breathing to regulate our nervous system and regain control of our body and mind. We can openly and honestly identify our emotions without judging ourselves. We can engage in a supportive social community that is open-minded, understanding, accepting, and compassionate. We can identify what triggers us and develop a deep understanding of our history and unconscious evaluation of these triggers. We can gain awareness of how we're feeling when triggered. We can learn to accept these feelings without self-criticizing ourselves and engaging in a calming experience to induce self-regulation. We can then make an emotionally regulated and informed decision, changing the trajectory of our lives. Read more about emotional regulation from positivepsychology.com below in the description. People, vulnerability is a powerful tool. It takes courage, it takes self-forgiveness, and it takes self-awareness. What these videos are about, that's what it takes. And I assure you, as I'm standing here before you making this video, vulnerability is a powerful thing, and the world is hungry for it. You must protect yourself. It's not always safe to be vulnerable, but when you can stand in your greatness in a safe space, please share it with love and light. The world is hungry for your voice. They're hungry for your light. They're hungry for your authenticity, and they are hungry for your vulnerability. I'm wishing you the best. Next video will be here. Full playlist there. Let's walk these lions together. One planet, one tribe, one world. I will see you there.